Welcome to the Alcohol Tipping Point podcast. I am your host, Debbie Maisner. Today we have Robin Weaver with Smart Gut Health Solutions. So this is going to be a great episode because she is sharing her personal sobriety journey, but she also is a gut health expert. So we're going to learn a little bit more about how alcohol impacts gut health. So thank you, Robin, for being here.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to be here to, share a little expertise on gut health and alcohol, and then also, share my experience as, it was related to alcohol in my past as well.
Sure. And then can you just introduce yourself a little, just give a little background for our listeners?
Sure. So as you already said, my name is Robin. Of Smart Gut Health Solution. Anyone can find me there on Instagram and on the website. My background in master's is actually in neuroscience, and most recently last year I was certified in gut health, and really tying what is called gut health is usually the second brain. So now I'm kind of linking the brain with the second brain and helping entrepreneurs reduce their stress and their related gut issues to really help them, skyrocket their sales and, get to the next level and kind of deal with their health and then be able to do, all the great things that they're capable of.
Fantastic. Great work that you're doing. So how about your experience with alcohol? What has that been like for you?
Yeah, so I'm actually 5.5 years sober now. And my journey with alcohol really stemmed from the fact, and I didn't know it at the time, but it really stemmed from the fact that I was pretty much self-medicating because I have a mental illness, which is bipolar disorder. So a lot of my struggle with alcohol was not only fitting in with friends and, boyfriends of the time, but also really, trying to get myself to kind of a more stable, to have that depressant effect that alcohol would bring me. In my manic states, I really knew that. And with my education in, biology, psychology, and neuroscience, I knew the chemistry that alcohol actually brought to the brain. So all along my journey in mental health, I was telling the doctors that I needed GABA to help me to kind of calm myself down. And it was kind of funny how that, kind of translated. But down the line, I ended up meeting some great people after, a problem with my mental illness. And they really got me into the rooms of AA. And, my sobriety date is April 9th, 2016. And ever since then, I have been, going to the rooms and, really staying connected to people to stay sober.
So for you, it was as you were learning more about, with your background and your master's in neuroscience and learning more about like how the neurotransmitters work and how GABA, we were actually just talking about GABA recently in my group, and how that affects just your general mood and whatnot. And so So as you were learning more, you realized like, hey, maybe alcohol is not helping me out. And then it was AA that was most helpful for you. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, alcohol just became problematic. It went from, having a couple drinks at night to then, drinking all the time. And it became very harmful because I would also drink in the car. Like it was getting reckless, so it really became to the point where I needed to get help. And that's, excuse me, when I got into, AA. To be honest, I don't go as regularly as I used to the meetings. I'm really big on self-improvement, self-awareness, personal development. So I stay within that realm. And I do live with my best friend who is sober 7 years. So that helps as well.
Great. And so then you decided to do some more research into gut health. What made you go that route?
So actually, it was the beginning of last year. And right before COVID, I was having my own digestive issues. And I went to a lot of, I guess you would say, typical doctors where, they're trained to look at things in one way.
Hmm.
And I even went to a gastroenterologist, and he even did a scope and couldn't find anything. And he ended up giving me an antidepressant. And at the time, I was very kind of offended that he gave me this medicine because I was having gut issues. And then as I looked into it, and again, I have a science background, so I looked into it, and that's when I learned that 90% of our serotonin is in our gut and produced in our gut. And not only was I not taught that at my Ivy League university when I got my master's degree, I was just astonished, and it actually helped. So he gave me this medicine, it helped. And not only that, I realized to myself that, hey, these doctors aren't talking anything about nutrition or what we're actually putting into our body. Obviously, that makes a difference. So I took it upon myself to go to health coaching school. I got my normal certification as a health coach, but then I went deeper and got that gut health, specialization, because that's really what my main passion was.
Yeah. So share a little more about gut health and how alcohol impacts your gut.
Sure, absolutely. So obviously, I didn't know this at the time of getting sober, nor did I know about how important gut health was in general. But alcohol really causes inflammation in the gut, and actually causes it to become what's called leaky. Sometimes people call it leaky gut. You might have heard that kind of thrown
Hmm.
around. And that's really when, your gut lining becomes, more permeable, more susceptible to food particles and toxins, and even like bad bacteria going into the bloodstream. And that, a lot of people nowadays have allergies and autoimmune disorders. And that can really stem from not only our poor Western diet, but also the excessive alcohol that people unfortunately take, not only for social reasons, but a lot of stressors, cause people to drink as well, especially, this past year with the pandemic. So, so it can cause the inflammation. It also can cause acid reflux, and it kills a lot of the good bacteria that is in our gut. Some people don't like to think of our guts as being so full of bacteria, but we are actually more bacteria than we are human. And with everything going on with the bacteria there, with it destroying the good bacteria, that can then lead to things such as constipation or diarrhea, bloating, gas. So everything can go wrong, if you're excessively drinking. And to be honest, people that drink, just one day, or, once a week, twice a week, it takes about 2 to 3 days for the gut to go back to quote unquote normal. Whereas if you have more of a chronic drinking problem, your gut pretty much is destroyed, to be honest with you. It just really doesn't get back to um, being fully functional. And obviously, we understand that it can damage a lot more organs than the gut.
Well, that sounds like not good news for.
Yeah.
So, but what could you do? So, we'll just kind of back to how the alcohol affects your gut health. You mentioned that it kills off bacteria. How does it tie to serotonin? So, serotonin being that feel good neurotransmitter. So,
Mhm.
how does all of that relate?
Well, the serotonin will help to calm down the gut. So I was having so many gut issues because the nerves were, not firing properly. So when I got the serotonin in my system, I felt better. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the alcohol. Like I said, by last year, I was well not
Hmm.
drinking by then. So these are kind of two unrelated things. But that was kind of my aha moment to get me into the field of gut health, because I realized how strongly linked the brain up in our head is linked to our gut. So not the gut bacteria destroying the good bacteria. What we really want in our gut primarily is a diversity of bacteria that helps us to digest food a lot better. So when we're destroying the good, we only have the bad. we are typically, and obviously it's not all the time, but typically if people are drinking often, they lead to, more processed foods. They're eating late at night. Nobody's really in line at a Whole Foods at, 2 a.m. after the bars close. It's
That's a
it's
very
more
good
that,
point.
yes. So it's more, you're going for pizza or tacos, things that are not so good. And if that's, primarily what you're eating, that's going to cause, that dysbiosis, that imbalance in your gut, which is going to overall, just cause you to feel cruddy. And I know you had a previous podcast about, how sleep is affected, and
Mm-hmm.
we really have sleep disturbances when you have alcohol too, as you mentioned, with the REM sleep messing up. And that's going to cause hormonal problems, which can increase cortisol, and the cortisol is that stress hormone. So if our stress is, up, then our gut's going to be imbalanced. So everything is really related. And that's why I have such a passion, for the gut health and how it does tie into, stress and everything related to that.
So, what are some of the things we can do to take care of our gut?
hmm So, a lot of the things that I help my clients do is not only nutrition, because I think in general, people know they understand that eating high fiber and, good lean protein and legumes and beans. I feel like people know that intuitively, that that's better than eating, fried chicken. I think
Mm-hmm.
people realize that. But my point of helping clients is not to just teach them what to eat, but it also matters like how you eat, who you're eating with, what the environment's like when you're eating. So I really enforce, stress reduction techniques, um, you know, also self-care, having a morning routine. Most people don't realize how important that is to set your day up for success and helping your health overall. And when we do that, we are able to and let me just back up a bit. I always teach people to, in the morning, drink um, at least 20 to 40 ounces of water to really start the day, to hydrate yourself, because you spent the whole night not drinking. Most people wake up dehydrated. So that's a big point. And I just did I just did a reel on this morning about how important water is really for our gut health, to keep the motility, to lessen constipation. A lot of entrepreneurs that I work with have issues with that because they tend to be very busy. They don't eat at certain times. They even forget to eat. So they're sitting at their desk, kind of doing their work on the computer often, and that can lead to a lot of problems. So not only is the water important, the stress reduction, like I said, exercising, of course. Yoga is wonderful for gut health. And really any exercise, but it doesn't have to be strenuous. A lot of people get intimidated, that they have to quote unquote exercise, but it can be as simple as taking a 20-minute walk around your neighborhood or at the gym, and really kind of nourishing relationships too. Like I said, it's not just what you eat, it's who you're eating with, what that environment is like when you're eating. So if you have a stressful environment when you're eating, that's going to cause you to have, you know, discomfort in your gut while that's happening. And I'm sorry, I feel like I'm talking a lot.
No,
I'm
this is
so passionate.
great.
I'm so passionate about it. And also I'll touch on the fact that chewing also is a big problem for the people I work with, because they're often busy, as I mentioned. So what ends up happening is you're like shoveling food down your throat as you're sitting at your desk working. Whereas we need to really take some time and chew our food slowly, so that we can really have those particles be broken down before it gets to our gut.
So more mindful eating and more, yeah, I
Exactly.
I can't tell you how many times I've been working at my desk and I've ate something but I don't remember eating it.
Right,
and
right.
then
And
I'm
you're like, did
s-
I really eat?
and I'm so mad. I like have to look in the garbage, look for evidence like, God, I ate that, but I don't remember.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, everything is included. I mean, it's really amazing, when we're actually more mindful and we have that self-awareness about what we're actually doing throughout the day. I'm also I I'm big on also tracking things. I think if you don't track it, it's like, oh, it didn't happen. Um, in my job, also in the corporate world, I work in sales, and everything is about having spreadsheets. So I feel that people should journal what they are, what they're doing, not again, not just what you're eating, but what was your mood when you were eating. And also something that most women, and I work with, women that don't necessarily like to talk about it, but also bathroom routine and how you're going to the bathroom is important too. um, because a lot of the times, again, we get caught up in our day and we're not even realizing that we're not even, functioning properly as we should be.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about poop. I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse. I could talk about poop all day
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, like a lot of people, it baffles me that I'll be like, okay, so, how is your poop routine? And they'll chuckle and they'll be like, yeah, well, I go like maybe 3 times a week or, maybe four. And I'm like, oh my goodness, so I think it's really having that awareness. A lot of people, and even I had this come up with my 14-year-old daughter recently. We were out, at a restaurant, and she had to go, and she decided, she's like, I'll just wait. I don't want to do it in the bathroom. And I was like, I remember this as a teenager, or, even being in college, holding it and not wanting to go, to the bathroom around other people. And I think we really need to break this embarrassment that ladies have amongst ourselves. Like, read the little book, of our childhood. Everybody poops. It's a thing. you
Well,
know?
yeah. So since we're on the topic, what is normal for
Yeah.
bowel
So,
movements? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, at least I was taught in health school that we should at least be going once a day. And how we can make that, quote unquote, make that happen is, like I said, keeping ourselves hydrated, drinking. I like to err on the side of caution and drink half my body weight in ounces. Some people think that's excessive. You really just have to feel your body. It's really an individual thing, as to what our body needs nutrition wise. Staying hydrated is important. Also, fiber is really big. Being being plant-based is kind of ideal, to be honest with you, because we get so high fiber with the vegetables and the beans and everything, and that does help. But when people do that, again, it's individual, so I don't like to make blanket kind of recommendations. But again, the water is important to do that too, because it can become, there can be a level of constipation if we eat too much fruit or too much vegetables in that regard too.
So a daily bowel movement
Yes,
and
please, at
don't
least
hold
once
it
a day.
in. What
Yeah.
what's wrong with holding in your
Yeah,
poo?
because when we do that, we're really like compacting it. And to be honest, people actually don't realize that you can have a movement or even diarrhea and you're still constipated. Like, people don't realize that that's
Mhm.
really the case. So we have to be really cognizant of not only what comes into our body, but also what goes out, having that good old fashioned poop log. Back in the day, I used to work at a preschool, and we would always do that, keep track of, all the children and when they went, and give the little report card to their parent when they came in. And it's really like we have to make our own report card for ourselves when we're adults.
Yeah, yeah. Well, tying it back to someone that is a drinker and they're wanting to change their drinking habits, And then they're hearing like, "Oh God, I've screwed up my gut." What kind of advice would you give them?
So I never think that it's too late to fix anything. If you're still breathing, if
Mhm.
you're still alive, I really, and you really have the willingness and the desire to get better, I don't think, all is lost. First of all, I just want to say that. And then secondly, it's really, first of all, becoming aware of what situation you're currently in and what habits you have come to kind of adapt to. So that's how I would kind of start things, is to be getting honest with yourself, kind of journal what your daily habits are now. So, okay, what do I eat, throughout the day? What do I usually drink? Now, if you're trying to stop drinking alcohol, or if you still want to keep alcohol in your system, I always recommend people drink, if you're going to have a beer, you have water after that. You don't, because obviously we know that beer like will dehydrate us, and we want to make sure that we have enough water. If you're trying to cut out alcohol altogether, which obviously is best, really just becoming honest with yourself. What was your drinking habit? Getting around other people obviously is best if you're, trying to stay sober. But overall, like the things that I was mentioning that I work with people, the stress relief, the exercise, the eating the healthy, more whole foods rather than the processed fried chicken and the pizza and the tacos and things like that. And then really kind of, if you're looking for more things like tryptophan is not getting too sciency, but if you have like turkey and eggs and things like that, if you're eating regular diet, not just plant-based, you can do that. You can have pumpkin seeds. Having seeds is also really good for our gut health too, to have that fiber to keep the motility going as well. um, yeah, so I mean, there's tons of things, and I would love, if anybody has any, personal questions. I actually work with a company that does gut testing. Like, people take at-home tests, it sends to a laboratory. I go over results with them. So it's really good. But like I said, it's more of a customized personal experience rather than blanket statements.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can of course make blanket statements, but I don't want anybody to take that as, okay, this is what I must do because Robin said so.
I get it. Yeah. So when people quit drinking, a lot of times they get those really strong sugar cravings.
hmm
What can you tell us about sugar cravings and stopping
hmm
drinking and then sugar in your gut?
Yeah. So what I would highly recommend if you have sugar cravings is to look for more natural sugars. So, natural sugars being fruit, you know, um, fruit is very satisfying if you have that on hand. I know that that really did happen to me when I stopped drinking as well. I wanted to have candy, but allowing to maybe in your house just have like some blueberries, which is good for brain health and, overall gut health as well. Having any type of apple is high in fiber. That's going to help you again with your going poop and going to the bathroom. Um, that is really what I would recommend, is to kind of try to switch to the fruit, but in the same breath. What I do find important is not to have like they would call red foods, like red flag foods. You have to be kind of compassionate to yourself when you're stopping anything, I believe. And if you have these all or nothing mentality, I think you're not going to end up staying true to what you're trying to do. So if once in a while you have to have a Reese's, maybe perhaps have like a one, like maybe one cup instead of like the whole sleeve of like the 4-pack, so just trying to reduce as much as you have rather than kind of eliminate altogether, because I think that that's more detrimental in the long run, because you'll kind of fall off the wagon, if that makes sense.
Definitely. The all or nothing thinking is, Yeah, you got to give yourself grace. And especially if you are changing one huge habit like drinking alcohol, I
Mm-hmm.
usually say to people, like, now's not the time to diet. Like,
Right.
focus on reducing the alcohol, practice not drinking. If you're going to eat the sugar, go ahead. Give yourself grace. And then along the way, if you're a month out, couple months out, and you're like, wow, I've really upped my candy intake, then is when you may want to tackle that. But making
Right.
sobriety your first goal.
Absolutely. I mean, that by far is the most important thing is if you are, starting to recover from your alcohol addiction, that is by far the first thing you should be, considering. That's why I said, if you try to eliminate everything, it's going to end up, going off the wagon. And unfortunately, that ends up, causing the guilt and the shame. And then we don't want that to lead to other behaviors and have that cause you to start drinking also because you're like feeling, defeated. So definitely I agree there.
And I found that just being hungry is a huge trigger, or at least was a trigger for me to want to drink. So
Mm-hmm.
keeping my blood sugar stable was
Right.
something that was very helpful for me.
Right. Absolutely.
And so is sugar our enemy? Going back to sugar.
Mm-hmm. I mean, sugar in general causes more kind of like bad bacteria in our gut. So I'm not, again, it's not like an all or nothing type of thing. I tell people like everything in moderation is okay, but um I don't know. I more like to when people work with me in general, I tend to make more recommendation to natural sugars,
Mm-hmm.
or like agave or like like I already mentioned, like to have fruit, that type of thing. But again, if you need to, don't beat yourself up. Halloween's right around the corner. There's a lot of bite-sized little bags of things. Go out if you need to do that. But I don't think overall it's going to necessarily, quote unquote, kill you if you have a little bit of sugar. But again, it's just all in moderation. We want to make sure that our gut is not totally overtaken by the sugar bacteria, so to speak, because then we're going to again have that dysbiosis in our gut, which might cause it to have the leakiness, which is then, like I said, going to have the food and the
Mm-hmm.
toxins and all of that. So it's all a trickle effect.
Okay. Well, this is like, we're really covering a lot of content. This is great, Robin.
Sorry, I go off on tangents. I'm very passionate about this topic.
I think it's important. It's important, what we put in our body definitely makes a difference. So it's great information.
Yeah.
What are your plans for the future?
Sure. So, right now I am working on getting a membership going, for ambitious entrepreneurs that are passionate about getting to their next level. It's Gutsy Glam Gals is now
Oh, cute.
on my website, and I'm looking to talk to people that are interested in kind of reducing their overwhelm and stress and kind of getting past their gut issues and just, like I said, up leveling their careers. That's really what I'm passionate about right now. I am actually going to be starting my own podcast because I love doing podcasts so much. I've been on a bunch of them in the past, and I'm really excited to do that because I think that most people, like myself last year, didn't know how important gut health was for every system in our body, like everything. So I really want to get the word out on that. And yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm headed.
Yeah, that's
As
exciting.
far, yeah.
And so, where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. That's my primary outlet, Smart Gut Health Solution. Um, website by the same name. I have, my links there on Instagram, so you can find any way to connect if you want to have a 30-minute info sesh about Gutsy Glam Gals. I'm also taking waitlist people. We're going to do a Sing for Sanity kind of virtual karaoke night
Oh,
for
that's
people.
fun.
Yeah, for people that don't know, singing really is connected to the brain and through the vagus nerve, and helps to reduce stress. So I am getting together, a little karaoke shindig for anybody that wants to join in on that. But a lot of good things coming in the pipeline. I'd love to get a DM from anybody that has any personal interest in gut health or anything at all regarding to stress or entrepreneurship. Just shoot me a DM at Smart Gut Health Solution.
Well, that is fantastic. I look forward to your podcast. I may have.
Thank
Do
you.
you have to be a good singer to do your karaoke?
No, not at all. And I might have to put like a little asterisk at the bottom, because I think that's what people think. And I'm like, no, it's okay. We're just gonna have a little fun.
That's really cool. I did not know that about singing.
That's what I say. So either if you sing in the shower or you sing like a rock star, do it often.
Okay. Watch out, people in my life.
Yes.
I have a new reason to sing and annoy you.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Well, good. This was super helpful. I'm so glad that we got to chat about gut health, and I thank you for sharing your story, for being alcohol-free and just out there living your life and helping other people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really wonderful.
Thank you, Robin. Attention, Idaho and California residents. If you're shopping for a mortgage, contact PacFi, a mortgage brokerage with the top wholesale lenders in the nation. They are committed to simplifying the mortgage process, saving you time and money. Call 858-442-7048 or visit pacfi.com. NMLS number 1462943, Equal Housing Lender. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Alcohol Tipping Point. I'm always here for you guys, so please feel free to reach out and talk to me on Instagram at Alcohol Tipping Point, and check out my website, alcoholtippingpoint.com. Again, I hope you can use these tips we talked about for the rest of your week. And until then, see you next time.